I wanted to take a moment to reflect on Courtney Love and how strange I feel like the response to her is. And don't get me wrong, I feel like the evidence out there of Kurt Cobain being killed is it's pretty overwhelming. Like seeing soaked in bleach, seeing that how mishandled that case was, the fact that he had 3 or 10 times the lethal dose and would still have been able to off himself with a massive shotgun. It of course it doesn't add up. The video of that guy saying that he was hired by Courtney Love to off him, like all of that isn't. It's not like it's a lie. Like that stuff is definitely worth, like just like with the whole Free Britney Spears movement, it is worthy for fans to have that, to speculate and have that gut feeling and wonder what's going on. Something seems off here, because we're not, just because we see someone from a screen doesn't mean we won't be able to gauge that something was wrong. And when you look at the videos of Courtney Love after Kurt died, and just her response to his death seems so strange. She seems so detached. But at the same time, I don't know. When I think about how people want so badly for that case to be reopened and for it to be, I mean, I think it would be good for it to be changed to undetermined, but I think the one thing people don't talk about is how Frances Bean would feel. And I feel like at the end of the day, and it's interesting for me to think about Frances Bean because she's about 1 month younger than me, so we're about the same age, and I think about her from that, like as a peer, as an empathetic, from an empathetic standpoint, what it might have felt like for her growing up without a father. And I wish more fans would put themselves in her shoes and think, okay, if more people push that her mother had someone off her father, would as fans, do you really want Kurt's daughter to have to live with that? Like, oh great, as a fan you would feel this sense of peace with believing that that is the information that she would have to be stuck with for the rest of her life? Would you really want her to remember her parents that way? The trauma that would cause her? And that's just not talked about. It's all around, it's an unfortunate situation, and the truth of the matter is there's no bringing Kurt Cobain back. And yes, in terms of justice, there should be honor in terms of if he was offed, 'cause I don't know if I'm allowed to use what words I'm allowed to use on YouTube. If he was murdered, then yes, his family, the truth, that does deserve justice and merit and all of that. But at the same time, I think there's a reason that truth has never come to light, and I think a lot of people think about Frances in this case. And the other thing is, I do truly feel bad for Courtney. I don't think there is enough empathy paid to Courtney, because if there is the chance that nothing like that happened and he really did something like that to himself somehow, then she, and in her career she has consistent examples of just misogynistic behavior, just people coming after her. And that was a huge reason she wrote the song, what is it called? Well, there's this one song of hers that describes, well, she was stage diving and then a bunch of people were just completely inappropriate with her, putting their hands up her skirt, everything. And she ended up, oh yeah, Asking for It is the song. And I could only imagine the trauma she's been through in her life, in a strange relationship with her father, um, given acid as a child, how that changes your brain chemistry, ending up in Japan, being deported, having to strip her way through life, which isn't easy. It's not easy on the mind. Um, the she isn't given enough credit for her ambition and her ability to be masculine and her ability to be someone who truly wants it. Because if anyone's seen any thing pertaining to Kurt's writings, he was the same way. He was ambitious and he went for it and he believed in his pursuit of becoming a successful band, and he's praised for it, and yet Courtney is shunned for it. And that double standard continues through their how people have perceived their addictions, and people tend to have more sympathy toward Kurt Cobain, and they don't seem to pay enough sympathy toward Courtney Love for how she struggled with addiction and what that might have been like for her, and how strong she was for being able to quit and to overcome her addiction. She does there Just because there are areas that people dislike her doesn't mean there are areas in which she doesn't deserve recognition. And it makes me sick that she doesn't get that recognition enough. It's You don't see her at the end of the day, no matter what happened. There's like a clip of Kurt Cobain saying, "Needles, needles, give me more." I think of how it must have felt for her to have been pregnant with a child and to have to, because I'm with an addict and I know how difficult it can be, and I think addicts deserve more encouragement, more in love if you want to help them overcome their problems, but also they have to want it on their own. It's a difficult game. It's a difficult balance. And she must have also dealt with that with him, having to overcome her own addiction, having to take care of him. In that clip where he says needles, she's like, "Hey Kurt, are you gonna eat that food?" You could tell she was in that nurturing position of him, and that must have been there might have been times, because remember, this was they were married. He must have been insufferable to her at times. I'm not linking this reasoning to his death. If there was any reason and any truth to the fact that she might have had him killed, then like, there's no excuse for that. He deserved to live his life. He deserved to have the ability to get clean and everything. And I don't doubt for a second that he loved his daughter based on the pictures, the body language, the videos, everything. You could tell he loved Frances. But then when I also hear, and again, I'm not equating the two, when I think about just empathizing with Courtney Love and the pain of dealing with other misogynists and the rumors that he was planning on divorcing her and leaving her for Kristen, a lot of people act like that would have been okay. Like, rest in peace, Kristen Pfaff. If that isn't true, then her name doesn't. She deserves to be remembered for more than just being someone that was associated with Hole and Kurt Cobain. She deserves to be remembered for so much more and praised to the equal light that as Kurt was. But beyond that, if Kurt really was leaving Courtney for Kristen, and a lot of people just excuse it, like, oh well, Kristen was smarter, Kristen was better, she would have been better for Kurt. I don't think anyone really talks about how unfair that would have been to Courtney to have just had a baby with him and married him, and then the prospect of him divorcing her, being extremely selfish with his choices, the clip of him holding Frances as a baby while he's high. It's like, you can't disregard the selfishness of that. And if he was leaving her for Kristen, just leaving his wife out in the cold, the trauma that would have caused Frances. I'm not saying this should be talked about, but I'm just amazed that it isn't. I'm amazed that while many people know that Courtney Love is Kurt's wife, she was more than just his wife. She's a person. She deserves empathy too. She was also a struggling addict. She also had a hard childhood. She worked her way through life, building up defenses in order to succeed. She felt like that the rough road for a woman is having to succeed through a man because the world just won't give. She definitely grew up at a time where the world just would not give women a break, because that's been a common thread in this country, not giving women enough respect. And there's a great book called The Male Machine that really goes into how this was in the 70s too, and it's really compelling. At the end of the day, as fans of Nirvana, as fans of Kurt, it's important to not only humanize his wife, his daughter, and think about how she would take the information if the truth, or who knows, the truth of him being offed came out. That would not be good for her. And I think it's better to let the case rest, because there's no bringing him back, and Courtney Love's still here, and she deserves to be respected as a human being and understood as someone who has struggled in her life. And Frances does too, and Kristen deserves more respect than just being associated with Hole. And she wanted to do more with her life around the time that she died. And those are my thoughts. I hope this wasn't one big run-on. We, as fans, we need to be aware of the artists that we choose to come and respect. I don't really believe in worshiping artists. I don't think Kurt should be hailed as a god. I think he should be hailed as a human being who made great music. And people need to really stop asking Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl about his death. They need to let him rest. And I hope this made sense. If you agree, if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you feel like there was a perspective of this I missed, but please don't send any hate toward Courtney, and please respect Frances and her experience. Please respect Chris and Dave. Don't keep commenting their stuff about Nirvana only. Think about what they've done, and if you have a chance to recognize, talk more about Kristen and keep her legacy alive as a human being, that's amazing too. And that's it.